1. Karaoke calamity, a familiar tale. Picture this, a crowded bar, dim lights, and a karaoke machine. The air is thick with anticipation and excitement. Suddenly a friend grabs the mic, you know the one, always eager to perform. He belts out a song, utterly convinced he's a rock star. His confidence is through the roof. The problem, he sounds like a dying cat. The audience cringes. Some even cover their ears. He's completely unaware of his lack of talent. In his mind, he's nailing every note. We've all been there, right? Maybe not on a karaoke stage, but in other areas of life. We overestimate our abilities. We think we're better at things than we actually are. We think we're smarter, funnier, or better drivers than we actually are. It's a human thing. We all have blind spots. This tendency to overestimate our skills is not just a funny quirk. It's deeply ingrained in our psychology. It's a real psychological phenomenon that affects everyone to some degree, and it has a name: the Dunning-Kruger effect. This effect explains why we sometimes think we're better than we are. Part 2. The Dunning-Kruger effect. We don't know what we don't know. In 1999, two social psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, did some fascinating research. They wanted to understand why some people seem so confident in their abilities, even when they are not very skilled. They found that incompetent people often lack the ability to recognize their own incompetence. This means that the less skilled you are, the more likely you are to overestimate your abilities. Basically, the worse you are at something, the less likely you are to realize you're bad at it. This can lead to a cycle where people don't seek to improve because they don't see the need. Sounds obvious, right? But the implications are profound. It affects how we learn, how we work, and even how we interact with others. This effect isn't about stupidity, it's about awareness. It's about understanding the limits of our own knowledge and skills. We all have blind spots. These are areas where our lack of knowledge prevents us from seeing the full picture. We lack knowledge in certain areas, and that lack of knowledge prevents us from accurately assessing our own skills. This can be particularly problematic in areas where we need to make important decisions. It's like trying to find your way out of a maze in the dark. Without the right information, you're just guessing and hoping for the best. You don't know what you don't know, and that can be a significant barrier to personal and professional growth. Part 3. Real-life examples, from parking to politics. Think about parallel parking. Ever seen someone take 1,000,000 tries to squeeze into a spot, then declare themselves a parking master? They might genuinely believe it, even if everyone else on the street is judging their skills. Or how about online arguments? People with the loudest, most confident opinions are often the ones with the shakiest grasp of the facts. The Dunning-Kruger effect applies to everything from cooking to coding. We all know someone who gives terrible advice but thinks they're an expert. This cognitive bias affects our decision-making, our relationships, and even our politics. Part 4. Social media's Hall of Mirrors. And then there's social media. Social media, that wonderful echo chamber where everyone is an expert on everything. Social media can be a breeding ground for the Dunning-Kruger effect. We curate our online personas. We present the best versions of ourselves, often inflating our accomplishments and knowledge. Likes and shares become validation, reinforcing our inflated sense of expertise. The problem is, when we surround ourselves with people who agree with us, it's easy to forget that other perspectives exist. We become trapped in a bubble of our own making, blissfully unaware of our own ignorance. Part 5. A dose of humility, how to be less wrong. So, how do we combat this? How do we navigate the tricky waters of overconfidence and ignorance? How do we escape the Dunning-Kruger trap? It starts with humility. Humility is the key to unlocking true understanding. Recognize that you don't know everything. Accepting this simple truth can be incredibly liberating. Be open to the possibility that you might be wrong. Seek out diverse perspectives. Read widely, listen to experts, and immerse yourself in new ideas. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Asking questions is a sign of strength, not weakness. Remember, the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. This awareness is a powerful tool. That's not a bad thing. It's the beginning of wisdom. Embrace the journey of continuous learning. So, the next time you're tempted to grab that karaoke mic or jump into a conversation with absolute certainty, maybe pause for a second and ask yourself, am I really as good as I think I am? You might be surprised by the answer. Self-reflection can be a humbling experience. And if it turns out you're not as skilled as you thought, at least you'll have a funny story to tell. Embrace your mistakes and learn from them. Laughter is a great teacher, and humility can turn any failure into a valuable lesson. Just don't expect anyone to want to hear it twice. Keep learning, keep growing, and stay humble.